Hello my fellow book lovers and welcome to my top 23 books of 2023. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was actually really hard for me to pick 23 books out of the 75 books I read this year on which ones were my top 23. Because I literally started going and I was like, I don't even have top 23 books. I think I got to like 15 and I was like, okay, these are my top books of the year. Like it was really hard. Everything on this list is 4 stars or higher. Know that I love them now and that I highly want to recommend them to you because it's such a diverse set of books that I feel like someone's gonna like a book out of all of these books that I'm recommending. But like I said, this was really hard. You keep seeing me look down or look over because I literally have a piece of paper that says all my top books. But like I said, this was like really hard. For the most part is in like order of least favorite to favorite. I'm gonna say that my top 10 is like the truest top 10 of the year, and then everything in between that is, some of them were kind of like added like after another. I was like, oh yeah, I actually really like this book too, or like when I saw it. It is a true top 23, but some of them probably could be put in different orders when I look back on the list and think about it, but this is the list I'm gonna stick to. Let's get into it. Let's just start going. Some of these books I also don't physically own. These were some books that I read on my Kindle app. The book that is taking the 23rd spot, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I actually listened to this as an audiobook, and I actually highly recommend that you listen to it as an audiobook. Like I absolutely loved it. Like her writing style is very much straight and to the point, which I actually love because she wasn't like beating around the bush when it came to like things that happened in her life. I just really liked that she was just so vulnerable and it's so essentially brave to like put all this information out there for all of us to see, which is like actually crazy because she literally didn't have to share any of that whatsoever. If you haven't listened or read this book, you absolutely need to. It is amazing. It's so good. Especially if you were someone who like grew up watching iCarly or Sam and Cat. Like she was a really big deal tween years of my life. And I guess if you're like within that same category of me, then like you should listen. Next book we have on the list may shock people. I don't know. But it is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. This is the second book in the Fourth Wing Empyrean series. We only have 2 books out right now, but I did actually like this one. This one I gave a 4 stars. I really loved it. I just didn't love it as much as the first one. And when I go back and think about things in Fourth Wing, I actually think about Fourth Wing. I don't necessarily think about like scenes and things like that in this book. And I did love it, don't get me wrong, but like if I'm thinking about Fourth Wing, I'm thinking about like OG events in Fourth Wing. I really don't have much to say about it. I do have a Iron Flame reading vlogs coming out eventually. I don't know when. It'll come out soon, I hope, but I got a lot of videos and a lot of other things to edit first that I could get through first. So yes, this will be coming with all my final thoughts, feelings about everything, and true reactions, and yeah. Next up, we have The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I absolutely love Lisa Jewell. She's like basically an auto-buy author for me right now. I absolutely love her. I loved the first book I ever read by her, which was Then She Was Gone. And I read that I think about 2 years ago, and I absolutely loved it. Fell in love. Since then, anytime I see a book by Lisa Jewell, I'm like, absolutely, I'm gonna read it. This literally held up so well. I think I rated this one about a 4.25 stars. I don't actually remember. I know it's very highly rated. I do actually still think about this book sometimes. I think it's really good. The story is so crazy and like kind of eerie, and like all the crazy things that were happening in this house like really puts you on edge, and you're like, oh my goodness, like you keep reading it because you're like, I have to know what is going on. Like this is crazy. Next up on the 20th spot, this is the book I actually read on my Kindle app way back in the summer. It's called The Wrong Mr. Right by Stephanie Archer, and this was the book that like made me like really want to read more Stephanie Archer books because it was so good and it was so cute. Like it just like gave me everything I needed and more at the time. Like it's just like one of those really fun quick romances that you're just like obsessed with once you're done with it. And like either it's like, okay, you're obsessed with it when you're reading it and you love it and you go through it so quickly, and then you're kind of like, you forget about it and you're like, oh, it was a good time, or it literally sticks with you in your brain and you're literally like, oh my god, I can't get this out of my head. This was one of those for me. It kind of like stuck with me and I kind of kept thinking about it sporadically over time, and like still do sometimes, hence why it's in one of my top 23 reads. This is actually the second book in the series. I haven't read any of the other ones in the series yet. Didn't get to into it. I don't know. There was just so many other books on my radar that I just like never got to the other ones. And the guy's a surfer and she owns a bookstore. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I highly recommend. Next up, we have The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. I just absolutely love this book. I just loved the series in general. Like, this book was so, so good. And it's gonna be kind of weird because you will see The Housemaid obviously on this list eventually. I'm gonna stick with it being at this spot, even though I actually enjoyed this one more than The Housemaid. But when it comes to like which one I think about more, it's not this one. Always think about the first one. But either way, I absolutely loved this book. The twists and turns and everything, crazy. Okay, like this one was like way crazier than the first one, and that's why I think I enjoyed it more. This one was like, not, I don't want to say kooky crazy because that's like not the right term to want to be using. I'm just like, girly, how does this keep happening to you? Like, what? What is going on? It follows the same female main character as the first one. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how this keeps happening, girly. I'm sorry. Yes, highly recommend. It's so good. And at number 18, this is another book I actually read on my Kindle, and I actually just recently read it, and that is Signed, Sealed, and Delivered by Juliana Smith. This is also a second book in the series, but to be quite honest, I didn't know that this was the second book. I thought this was the first one, and I kept seeing, because I follow Juliana Smith on Instagram, and kept seeing her post about this one, and like, it just sounded so intriguing. It is the brother's best friend trope and forced proximity, they live together trope. It just gave me so much, and it's not spicy at all. So if you're someone who loves like just cutesy little romances with no spice, this is perfect for you, and I highly recommend you read it. It's just such a cute little fun romance that like you're constantly rooting for them. You constantly want them to be together, and you just like can't help but smile and giggle at like some of the things that are happening. It's just so cute. Next up, we have Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. I actually haven't read any other Mia Sheridan book, but I do want to, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I read this book way back in like February, and I recently actually just started thinking about this book again. Like, I gave it a 4 stars. I don't remember a lot of the plot or a lot of the things that happen. I remember some things. I don't remember a lot. So it might be a book I have to go back and reread recently that I've actually gone back and thought about this book, and I just love it. I just absolutely loved it. I loved the story. It was so interesting. I read this, like I said, back in February, and for me to like come back and like think about it now, considering like all those past months, never once thought about it. Kind of forgot I read it. Like, if it popped up, I was like, oh yeah, I read that book. But no, more recently I've been like, oh my gosh, I love that book. Just the things that I've been remembering, I'm like, oh my god, they were so cute, and I loved that. If you haven't read it yet, highly recommend. It's so beautiful. The story, oh my goodness. Like, there's so much like depth and like vulnerability with both of the characters that you just like can't help but fall in love with both of them. Like, you just love them and you want them to be together so badly, and like, I just it's just one of those books, you know what I mean? Next up, I feel like this is gonna be surprising for some people. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like some people like hate this book or they love it, and that is A Court of Silver Flames. I loved this one way more than I thought I did. Like, now thinking back on it, I absolutely loved this. It was so good. Like, just the character development throughout the entire story, like knowing about Nesta beforehand and like not really liking her but not really hating her, and then seeing this beautiful character development throughout this entire book. This book I think is like over 700 pages. Let me see. 757 pages. Beautiful character development. Oh my god, there's so much depth and so much like drive and passion within Nesta that you see in this book, and then like her emotions and her feelings and like how she keeps everything bottled up and like why she does. Oh my goodness, it's just so freaking good. Personally, I don't know why people don't like this one more. Like, I don't know. I really just don't know. Like, I don't get it. Especially if you're someone who like is a Cassian lover. I do love Cassian. I'm not a Cassian lover. Like, if I am a Rhys-San girly, like that man. Anyways, that's not what this is about. But if you're someone who loves like a funny, witted, like outgoing, like gruff man, this is for you. You get a lot of Cassian in this book, and you get a lot of like, you get a whole bunch of stuff, okay? This is hella spicy, okay? Really spicy. Spicier than the entire other books. Like, I literally I was not expecting this one to be the way it was. That's all. Honestly, I'm done. I can't go on any farther with that. Anyways, let's move on. Number 15 on this list is actually a book I read recently. It's called Matching All the Way by Veronica Eden. You would have seen that already because you already see the picture up on the screen. But yes, her name is Veronica Eden. And I loved this book so much. Oh my god, it was so freaking cute. It's technically a holiday book, but honestly, like it takes course over like an entire year. And I think it can be read any time of year. I think it just like is like more heavily focused like scene settings on like holidays, but it's not like I said, it takes course over the entire year. This is a hockey romance, and this is a coach's daughter romance, also brother's best friend. Like the tropes in this book, so good. And just the story in general is really, really cute. Like it's also really spicy. Like, oof, the spice was spicing. There were some things in this that I was just not expecting. I was like, oh, this was not where I thought this was going. It's very, very good. Very, very cute. I just love that. So if you love like spice and like people who just like have like an instant connection, I could not get enough of it. It was so freaking cute. Like I literally have to go buy the physical copy because I just loved it so much. Next up at number 14, another book that I read on my Kindle, and it's also another holiday book I am obsessed with, and it's called Season Schemings, and it's by Katie Bailey. I fell in love. She writes closed door romance, and this book was just so freaking cute, and it was just so good. I could not help but laugh and like giggle at the story and like what they did. So this is basically a marriage of convenience, fake dating. He's a hockey player. She works for the hockey stadium. It is perfect. This is a holiday book though, obviously, like I said. It takes place over Christmas, like I said, because it's called Season Schemings. Now, I mean, like you really could just read this book at any time of year. It just happens to be taking place at Christmas, but it is a great holiday book. So if you were looking for a holiday book, or like you're looking for one to put on your radar for next year, highly recommend this one. It is so freaking cute. Like Sebastian Slater, this man, I should say, perfect. Okay, and coming in at number 13, this is the last book I actually read on my Kindle app this year. That's in my top 23, and that is How to Honeymoon Alone by Olivia Hale. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did, and even after the fact, I didn't realize how much I loved it until like it's been, I think, 6 months since I read it, and I still think about it from time to time. I don't want to say forced proximity, but they just happen to meet while they're both on their honeymoons alone, and the story follows Philip and Eden. Philip, loved him. He was so freaking, I loved him. Oh my goodness. And it was just like a really fun, cute summer romance. This does have spice in it though. Be wary of that. But I loved it. Oh my goodness. I just like can't believe how much I was actually obsessed with this book. Like the fact that I'm still thinking about it now, and that I still think about like some of the scenes, that I'm like, oh my gosh. And then like when I got to the third act, it wasn't necessarily a conflict that they had, but I just like couldn't help but like root for them. Like the entire, like that third act, like conflict area that you have, I was just like rooting for them, and I was just absolutely obsessed with them. All right, next up at number 12, we have The Housemaid. Like I said, you're gonna see this book in this video. This book was absolutely amazing. Like I definitely thought like this was gonna be like overhyped, whatnot. It wasn't. This, oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe like how twisted and sadistic this book kind of was. I wasn't trying to guess or anything like that, but like I had no idea up until like almost the very last minute where it kind of became obvious. Like there were certain things that were happening that like I was like, oh yeah, it's obvious. I know like what's going on and like what's happening, but it just like really surprised me. And like the plot twist like really kind of blew me away. I literally was like, oh my gosh, like certain things I was not expecting. Like not expecting in the slightest, and then they happened. Like the very end, the very, very end, I think it's even in the epilogue, that plot twist, I was expecting it a little bit just because of the way other things were talked about throughout the book, but like it was something that somebody said that I was like, oh my gosh, like it was just like out of left field, and I could not believe that was said and that was done. Anyways, yes, I highly recommend. It was so good. I think this was a 4.5 stars or 4 stars, I don't remember. Absolutely loved it. So freaking good. Next up at number 11, we have The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was another book I actually was not expecting to love so much. I read it and I was obsessed. I literally was obsessed with these people. When I was reading through it, I just like loved how unrealistic some of the situations situations were, which like brought me into this like little like funny little flirty little world of like romance. I'm like, this is an enemies to lovers. I love enemies to lovers. Like enemies to lovers is like my gold, okay? Like it is one of my Roman empires. If that is in a book, I am reading it without a freaking doubt, okay? And this is such a fun enemies to lovers because like she's like, we're enemies, and he's like, what do you mean? This one follows Olive and Ethan, and they actually get sent on the honeymoon rather than the actual honeymooners because of a sickness. So it's just like this really fun like tropical like summer read that like if you haven't read it yet, you need to. It's actually funny and it's like it's just super cute and like giddy and just like the best. Highly recommend. Alrighty, my fellow book lovers. We are now in the top 10 books of 2023. Are you ready for this? Coming in at number 10 might be out of left field for some people. And like even might be really an unpopular opinion amongst people because I've heard like you love this or you hate this series. But I happen to be someone who absolutely loved it and still thinks about it till this day and can't get enough of it. And that is The Cruel Prince. I'm gonna like count it as the series as a whole because I remember bits and pieces from every single book, but I don't necessarily remember which book it's from always. I just remember it happening later within like the entire like trilogy. Certain things within this one I remember were the first one just because it's like it's the first, it's the layout, it's everything building up to the rest of the series. So I'm gonna go with the Cruel Prince series as a whole, coming in at number 10. Like I said, this isn't enemies to lovers. I'm buying it. Give me a fantasy enemies to lovers. Oh my goodness. I might as well be dead because I will be giving up air to read this thing, okay? I absolutely loved it. Like everything about it is just so whimsical and fairy tale-esque. For this being my first fantasy series that I ever read, I'm so happy about it because it literally just like made me really love fantasy. And like with it being so whimsical and everything like that, it also let me love like other fantasies that aren't as whimsical but gave me some of those like fairy tale-esque elements. Kind of like with ACOTAR where it's like the Fae worlds, like they have their like rulers and their power, and that's very like fairy tale-y, whereas this is also very fairy tale, like having powers, but then also like the Faes and the royalty within this have like weird like little features about them, like the little elf ears, you know, the whole thing, the whole 9 freaking yards. I just love this. Like I said, I keep saying, I can't get over it. I just love this book so much. And like Jude and Carden, like true enemies to lovers. True enemies to lovers. The first book, I will say though, doesn't have a lot of romance in it. It's a lot of just like fantasy and world building and building up the main female character, Jude, who by the way is a freaking badass and I love her. Like she is literally just a warrior. Like flat out, like if I'm having someone fight to the death for me, it's gonna be Jude. That's all I got to say. All right, coming in at number 9, we have Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I haven't read another book by this author yet, and this was the first book, obviously, that I read by her. I was obsessed. I absolutely loved this book. I was not expecting to like this as much as I did. And the fact that I'm still actually obsessed with it and that it's at number 9 in my top 23, crazy. I read this back in the summer. I don't remember what month. I think I read it in like June or something. But I still think about this book. Like it was so good. Like how everything connected and came in at the end of the book. I was actually shocked. Like there was even like one plot twist that like I wasn't even expecting and that I actually kind of forgot about. But the fact that she so seamlessly put it in there, crazy. This book was actually just amazing and crazy. I don't know anything else to say about this. It was so good. So freaking good. Okay, next up I'm going to talk about these 2 books together because they're by the same author and they're at placement 8 and 7. And that is When in Rome and The Cheat Sheet. I loved these 2 so freaking much. I could not stop giggling and kicking my feet and just like loving and soaking all of this stuff up. It was so freaking good and just like I cannot even contain my love for both of these. They're super short. They're so fun. They're so quick to read. These are like true like summer romance reads. You're gonna have a great fun time reading these and you're gonna absolutely fall in love with every single character that you see because they're just so cute and adorable and they just fit the story so freaking perfectly. And then just their love story and everything about it, love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about When in Rome first, because this one is at number 8. This one follows Amelia and Noah. Noah? Love him. Oh my goodness, he was so cute. He was so freaking perfect, okay? They just have like undeniable chemistry, and like she's a pop star, he owns a pie shop. She gets broken down in front of his house because she runs away to a town called Rome, Kentucky, because she just has to get away from her life for a little while. And they meet, instantly hit it off. He's trying to be like, no, but like knows that he likes her. And she's over here like, what the heck is going on? Like, in the best way possible. In the best way possible. It was such a good read. So freaking cute. I'm gonna have to do a reread of this one as well and just like annotate and like, loved it. And to talk about the cheat sheet a little bit, she's coming out with another one, which I'm so excited about, called the Rule Book, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it because I loved this one so much. This one I actually gave a 5-star. This I think start the 5-star reads. I might change my rating to this one to a 5 stars because I do think about this one often and I absolutely loved it. Okay, I feasted on this one. This one follows Bree and Nathan, and Nathan's a professional football player and Bree was, I think, a professional dancer, and then she got injured and now just dances and teaches dance class and stuff like that. They are friends to lovers, and I personally usually not a fan of friends to lovers. This one I thought she did so well. It was just so cute, like seeing both of their points of views to see how like they feel about each other and just like to see their inner thoughts. It was just so freaking cute. I loved it so much. Nathan Donaldson. Okay, if you love Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, you're gonna love this, okay? Only if Amelia was the person with Nathan in this one, it would be true Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce stuff going on. But it's not, unfortunately. But if you love Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, read this book because this is gonna fulfill your fantasies, I feel like. This is perfect. I loved it. It was so freaking good. I just can't get over it. This is also fake dating. Love fake dating. Like I said, if it has enemies to lovers, fake dating, I'm there. I am there because it is chef's kiss, beautiful, perfect. This was a 5-star. Absolutely loved it. Another one I'm gonna have to go back and just annotate because I loved their romance. I just loved them. That's all I gotta say. This next one was a really sad one. I don't know how people are gonna feel about this because I feel like this is not a really popular book. This is also a banned book in a lot of states apparently that I didn't know about, but it is, and that is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. Absolutely fell in love with this book and its story. It's so vulnerable and like really hits you freaking hard, okay? Like I said, like this was a tough read to feel and see what she went through after this horrible traumatic experience where she was sexually assaulted by her brother's best friend. Actually, it just like tugs at you and like pulls at your chest. Like I was crying while reading this and it was so sad. Like Amber Smith did an amazing job of like making you feel like you're living through all of these events with her. Like I remember reading this distinctly and like going through it and like my heart racing at certain points because of like the anxiety and like the struggle and the like just the uneasiness that she was feeling at that time while being in that situation. I just could not believe that like she did such a good job of like making me feel that way and like making me like really put me into the book. It's kind of like a hard book to read. Like she really struggles and learns to like try and cope with what happened to her, and like it really falls into her like life in general. After this type of experience happens to you, it's like you go one way or the other, and she really went like way far down that one way, and it was just like really heartbreaking to see because it was just really sad because she was really young when it happened, and so like innocence that was taken away from her at such a young age, and then learning how to like be a person after that is just like crazy. That's all I'm gonna say about this one. It was really good. Absolutely loved it. Like I said, gave this one a 5 stars. I still think about this book and I actually cannot wait to read the second one, but I think I want to do a reread of this one first. I want to annotate, go through it, everything, and then read that one so that I'm like really fresh and up to date on like everything. Hopefully I don't cry again. I don't know. We'll see. Now we're in the top 5 reads of 2023. And my 5th book is A Court of Mist and Fury. Like I said, I love Rhys. You don't love Rhys? I don't know what to tell you because I love him. He is one of the loves of my life. Okay, he is boyfriend number 2. I absolutely loved this book. I thought it was so good. I just love the romance. Like, I am such a big romance girly. Give me fantasy and romance. It's just like him being obsessed with her. That's it. I do think about this book quite often, but like I think about things within all of the books that I necessarily can't remember which one they're in because it's such a long series. But either way, I just remember after reading liking this one more. Like, this one was the one I liked the most out of the entire series. So that's why it's at number 5. I absolutely love it. I actually can't wait to do a reread. I'm not obsessed with ACOTAR, but I do want to go back and like reread the series so that I can go in and like finish annotating. Like, I didn't write anything in the books. I only like tabbed them because I'm so scared of like ruining my books. But then I recently started like underlining and like doing annotations, and I was like, what was I so scared of? I love this. So coming in at number 4, this was a book that actually really surprised me. I picked it up in the summer with full intentions to buy it and then never did because I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like that, because there's just something about the storyline that I was like, this just doesn't seem for me. And then it blew up. And everybody was loving it, and they were saying it like really surprised them. So I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And that was The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I fell in love instantly. There was a point I was loving it, but what really did it in for me, literally, I think I was like halfway through the book where my mindset switched instantly. It flipped. Now, the entire time reading it, I knew what was going on. Like, I knew when the apartment had slipped into the 7 years, I knew exactly what was happening, like with the plot, and like before they had even like seen each other, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say anything where it like where it gives it away too much. But then when it got to page 153 and one line was said, and I said, I could not stop smiling. I could not stop giggling. Everything after that, I was like, they are soulmates and perfect for each other, and I love them, and this is absolutely perfect. Like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that was like my instant reaction. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. 5-star reads. This book is about an apartment that slips 7 years into the past. So this is magical realism. It's not like anything like time travel-y, because outside of the apartment is still present day. It's just in the apartment when it slips into the seven years in the past that takes place 7 years earlier, if that makes sense. Oh my goodness, the couple in this book is to die for. I actually cannot wait to do a reread of this. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I just can't wait. I literally cannot wait. I am obsessed. I love them, and I think about this book quite often. Yeah, this is just like the perfect romance. Like, if you're like really into like the books where they just like find their soulmate and it's like just not their time yet, this is for you. Like, this is absolutely perfect. Coming in at number 3, this was another really sad book that made me cry. And this was the first book to ever make me cry, and I was obsessed. I was so emo for so long. I can't even fathom how emo I was for so long. This book. And that was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. This is very young adult book, but if you haven't read this, you need to. You're gonna cry. There are gonna be tears shed, but I promise you it's like rips your heart out. Rips it right out and tears it into pieces and doesn't repair it in any way, shape, or form. The two main characters, Autumn and Finney, they're neighbors, their moms are best friends, they've been best friends since college, and they've grown up together, and then something happens that you don't really know about for some reason, and they just aren't as close anymore, and it follows Autumn and Finney throughout high school up until they're about to go to college. It's such a sad freaking book. It basically tells you what's gonna happen in the very beginning. You're just not prepared for it. Like, you literally are just like sitting there bawling your eyes out because you're like, this is not the way it's supposed to be, and just like, you're so sad about it. Okay, you're so sad about it. So sad. I probably would cry reading this again. I actually probably would, because I have gone back and like read one of the lines and cried. All right, we are at our top two books for 2023. Okay, I was actually really torn. I didn't know which one I was gonna put in the top spot, and it was a really hard decision. This is the decision I came to. Number 2 is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I am absolutely obsessed with this book and Lynn Painter's writing. This book was so freaking cute. And I love Liz and Wes. Like, Wes was so adorable. Like, enemies to lovers. Like, here I am eating this book up. It was so cute, and just like, I don't know what it was with me actually when I first read this book, where I was like, just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. And then literally 2 days later, I said, bro, I can't stop thinking about this. This is a 5 stars, and I am obsessed. I still am obsessed. I still think about this book. I love Lynn Painter so much that like I can't wait to read some of her other books. So good. So freaking good. I absolutely just love Liz and Wes and their story, and like the whole premise of the book. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do now until the fall time when the second one comes out. But yeah, I am absolutely obsessed with them. Like I said, cannot wait to do a reread of this book because it was so cute. I could not stop laughing and giggling and just like falling in love with them as a couple, and just like with Wes as well, because he's just like not who he seems to be. He's just perfect. He's just this perfect baby boy, and I love him. And book number 1, if you don't know what this book is, I don't know what to tell you, because I literally never shut up about it, and I absolutely love this book. I'm obsessed, like completely and utterly obsessed. And that's Fourth Wing. Like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I was gonna put Better Than the Movies first or Fourth Wing first. But realistically, when I think back on it, I have never ever been so obsessed with a book before, or wanted to do a reread of a book so quickly. Like, I finished it and instantly wanted to read it again. Like, that was it. That was it. Fell in love, absolutely loved it. Absolutely need to do a reread of it very shortly, because I'm just obsessed with Xaden and Violet. Xaden, he is my number 1 book boyfriend. Like, I am actually obsessed with him. It's so unhealthy. I don't know how I'm so obsessed with a fictional character, but I just am. There's just something about him. I don't know what Rebecca Yarros put in these pages, but she made me so undeniably obsessed with a man who's not real that I just like, I can't fathom. I just cannot fathom, and I just don't understand it. But I absolutely love this book. It is my favorite read of the year. This is like 6 stars, 700 stars. Like, I loved it so much. The wild rides I went through while reading this was crazy. Just like the plot as a whole, I absolutely loved. I just can't get enough of it. I just absolutely love it so much. And of course, this is my favorite read of the year. So yeah. But on that note, I'm gonna end this video now because I have been talking for, I think, almost over an hour, and I need to stop. That is it for this video. That was my top 23 books of 2023. Please let me know if you've read any of these books this year, and if any of them landed in your top 23. I would love to talk about it with you, okay? I would absolutely love to talk about books for hours and hours on end, and talk about where they placed in your top 23 of the year. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow me on all of my social medias, as well as subscribing to my channel. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.